In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products?
Our film follows many forms and conventions of a typical horror film, such as we named our horror film Hidden Enemy. Usually horror films have a one-word title, however, we feel our title will still be memorable even though it is 2 words. It doesn't give too much away, which is what we were after. Our film opening starts with an enigma as our main character walks into a house. She then proceeds to walk around the house. This raises questions from the audience such as why is she in the house and what's relevant with the pictures that are shown. Our music is very typical of horror films as it is quiet but jumpy as it holds a lot of suspense. Because we have no talking in our opening, we felt that the music alone had to set the scene. How does your media product represent particular social groups?
We have represented social groups very typically with women seen as helpless, vulnerable victims. However, one of their sisters does get away, then comes back to visit the house. This shows that she must have been strong and brave. You don't get a shot of the villain, however later on in the film he is found to be male, which is very stereotypical as they are seen as the more dominant, strong and violent of the sexes. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product and why?
We have chosen to use New Line Cinema's House of Horrors. It is a licensing division of New Line Cinema, and it was created after the success of Freddy vs. Jason and has produced the Final Destination franchise and the newer version of Nightmare on Elm Street and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We could have also chosen Twisted Pictures as the institution that distributed our film. It is an independent production company that mainly creates films for the horror genre. It is known for creating the Saw franchise, however it has only been around since 2004 when the first Saw became a blockbuster.
Who would be the audience for your media product?
Both males and females over the age of 15. This age group is more likely to watch a horror at the cinema. If the film was made in 18, then this would cut 16 and 17-year-olds out, which would lose a large percentage of the profit. To achieve this, we will allow minimal use of language, drugs and sexual reference.
How did you attract and address your audience?
We have tried to attract our specific audience by making most of the characters the same age as the audience, so that they can relate well to them. We also tried to make the storyline a bit different to normal horrors, whereby the vulnerable girls get chased and murdered. It would also appeal to people who enjoy films where you have to guess who the killer is, as we don't actually show him until the end. People who enjoyed films such as Hannah would enjoy Hidden Enemy, as it is also filled with adventure as well as the horror.
What have you learned about technologies from the process of constructing this product?
From our experience of using the editing suite, we have learnt how to put transitions in, and one of the main ones that we used was crossfade. Another technique that we have learned on the editing suite is how to put titles in and how to make them disappear, like with the title of our film, Hidden Enemy, and the credits. Also, a good technique that we have learned is how to make people translucent, as this was needed in our work because it was imitating a flashback. Also, with the cloud scene that we have done, we have sped up the speed to make half an hour's worth of filming down to about 10 seconds. We also made it so that the clouds would be going backwards to make it look as though it was going back in time to create a flashback.
Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you feel you have learned in the progression from it to your full product?
Looking back, I feel I have learnt about how to use more effective camera angles. This is to gain the response you desire from your audience. Also, I now realise how lighting in different scenes can affect the look of my shots, because if it was supposed to be a scary scene in a light room, it wouldn't really come across right to the audience. When editing, I can now use more effects such as the crossfade and translucent, but also my titles look a lot more professional too.
Looking back, I feel I have learnt a lot more about camera angles and which one to use for a certain scene that I am doing. For example, for feelings, it is better to do a close-up. Another thing I feel I have learned is how to put a lot more effects in that fit in with the scene, because in our prelim we put in an effect that broke the 180-degree rule. I feel I have also learnt a lot more about the tools on the editing suite itself, so I can now do things that I didn't think that I could. For example, layering scenes and making one translucent, creating the effect of a flashback. I have also learnt that doing a storyboard is a big help, and by doing this we got some good angles and all of the scenes flow together.
I have also gained a number of different editing skills such as crossfade transitions and also using the opacity scale in order for my work to look like a flashback from the past. I also learned to do a more in-depth plan when it comes to my research, so when it comes to filming I will be able to get a more clear and